Plants. When I'm hiking in the mountains, nothing else fascinates me more than these wonderful and beautiful organisms. And for anyone who loves flowers, the Alps in summer are truly a paradise. In this video, you can come join my friend Châu and me on our botanical journey as we explore the flora of the Swiss Alps. I will divide this video into sections according to the ecosystems that we find ourselves in. During this hike, we will pass through different layers of ecosystems as we gain altitude. From the forests of the deep valleys to the extreme alpine conditions of the mountain peaks among the glaciers. Ecologists use a concept called altitudinal zonation in order to describe these layers of ecosystems that can be found on mountains. Our hike is taking place in the northern Central Alps, and after starting at the bottom of a valley, we will move up through the Montane Level, the Subalpine Level, the Alpine Level, and finally we will reach the beginning of the Nival Level, also known as the snow zone. Journey begins at the bottom of a large valley, and we immediately enter the first ecosystem of our hike. The low montane forests of the western Central Alps consist mainly of trees like beech, spruce, pine, and some firs. Below the trees we find a rich undergrowth of various herbs and bushes. Some plants, like the wild strawberry, are great snacks and provide us with lots of energy to tackle the many elevation meters that we are ascending today. After a good sleep under the stars and a breakfast with a view, we begin to explore the flora of the meadows next to our camping spot. It is truly a sea of flowers, and the insects are loving it. As we move higher up the mountainside, the forests begin to change. Up here, the trees don't grow as tall anymore, and the beech trees, which were very common down in the valley, begin to disappear now. Instead, the forests are becoming more dominated by conifers and occasionally by maples, rowans, and hazel. Every now and then, the forest is interrupted by human-made meadows for grazing animals or natural scree fields, where very different plants are growing compared to the more shade-tolerant species of the forest. After a very rainy afternoon, all our clothes were completely wet, and the rainwater even got inside of our backpacks. So it was a very welcome coincidence when we stumbled upon an empty hut with open doors right next to a beautiful mountain lake. It wasn't very warm inside, but at least we were sheltered from the rain and had much more space compared to the tent.
Bless him.
Bless him.
Yeah.
The third day of our hike was still quite rainy and foggy, and at first we remained at more or less the same altitude as the day before. However, all this moisture made the forest look incredibly lush, and it intensified the colors of the many flowers that we found. Towards the end of the day, we ascended above the tree line and left the spruce forest behind. There are no proper trees growing in this subalpine landscape, because the temperatures are too low here and the summers are too short. One of the only woody plants that is flourishing up here is this rhododendron, commonly known as snow rose or Alpenrose. In the evening, we passed by a hut where the friendly hut warden offered us to sleep inside and to dry our clothes. This was a huge relief because, once again, our clothes were completely drenched.
You're having breakfast.
When we left the hut in the morning, the sun came out, and the wild valley in front of us seemed like a scene straight out of a fairy tale. A landscape full of the most beautiful flowers, waterfalls, and mountain peaks. And we didn't even see any other people on this day. As we hiked further and higher into the valley, the last woody shrubs, such as the rhododendrons and the green elder, disappeared. Here, the valley floor is dominated by a continuous, treeless meadow with many different flowers, grasses, and ferns. Immediately next to streams, we can spot certain plants that depend on very wet soils. Some areas of the valley are being grazed by sheep, which also affects the kind of plants that grow here. After ascending several hundreds of meters, the meadows are not continuous anymore, and the plants are growing in smaller and smaller patches between the rocks. Here you can find the Alpine butterwort, which is a carnivorous plant that traps insects on its sticky leaves. And you can also find the dwarf willow here, which is known as the smallest of all trees. This is the Nival Level, or simply put, the snow zone. It is a landscape of rock and ice, and throughout most of the year it is covered in snow. However, even up here in this harsh environment, life finds a way. During the short summers, a few well-adapted plants are growing between the rocks in the acidic gravel of this otherwise desolate landscape. On our way down to the valley, we were joined by a shepherd dog who followed us for 3 hours all the way down to our campsite. On the morning of our last day, while packing up our things, we had a friendly conversation with the shepherd of this valley, who told us a lot about his work. And so, on this sunny day, our journey of 5 days came to an end. We made our way down to the train station, through forests full of flowers and butterflies. I really hope that I was able to inspire some of you to get out there next spring and take a closer look at the flowers that decorate the world around us. Trust me, they're worth it.